everyone. So, occasionally we like to go back through things and look at their greatest hits, and we wanted to look back at something that was a really weird find. Images of this were shown or on Twitter, and we just needed to go over it. So I want your guys' thoughts on this. So let me de-darkify this first, and that didn't fix it. Redarken. That's fine. This will be hard for some of you guys to see, but here we go. I'll read this for the top part because my darkening extension is screwing with it. From gender-neutral bathrooms to women's prisons, it's time trans people carried ID cards. All right. So let's check out what this person's arguments are. I'm sure they're going to be wonderful.
Absolutely. We'll give it a shot.
And by wonderful, I mean awful.
I'll at least attempt to hear it out.
No, it is a terrible graphic. It is very real, like pink triangle energy.
From gender-neutral bathrooms to women's prisons, it's time trans people carried ID cards. People who were once broad-minded and tolerant are becoming angry and illiberal about trans rights thanks to a terrible backward step, self-certification.
So, first off, the only person that can truly certify or acknowledge your gender is you. Like, no joke. It's just you.
Nope.
This notion that other people can say what your gender is or whatnot, the only way a gender can be argued against in good faith is if it's clearly coming from, or is in bad faith, I apologize, is when it's only coming from the perspective of clearly something that's absurd. This is very similar to the super straight movement, where on the face of it, that sexuality is entirely based around essentially denying people's lived experiences as their gender. So let's continue.
Coming out is hard. You're terrified people will think you're a freak. Your friends, even your family will desert you. But then you grit your teeth and you say it, I voted leave.
So I assume this person's saying I voted leave in regards to Brexit. So we already can see this is interesting.
After that, and, by the way, I'm transgender is an absolute dawdle. It's true, by the way. I've lost friends because I'm an unrepentant leaver, but none by being trans. That, though, may be changing. The atmosphere around the transgender debate is becoming as toxic, antagonistic, and mutually destructive as that surrounding Brexit. People who were once broad-minded and tolerant are becoming angry and illiberal.
They're becoming illiberal? Well, that's what we wanted. So, the issue with this is immediately they're framing this as like people are violating civility politics, and I really don't think she's like, thinking clearly. The other problem with this is that immediately you can see where the way this woman is thinking is that she's very much coming from the perspective of Brexit was a good idea. Now, Brexit, for those who don't know, was a decision passed in the UK to separate from the EU. It was based entirely on essentially racism and xenophobia, and then proceeded to lead to, and I'm being as generous as this as I can, started to lead towards things that were, economically harmful for the country. It got passed, and it's caused nothing but harm. Now, as far as the discussion around transgender people in the UK and as a whole becoming more toxic, it's because we've actually been making progress. Cis society and cis sexist people don't really like that. So let's continue.
The reason for this terrible backward step can be summed up in 2 words, self-certification. This is the notion that a man can become a woman, or a woman a man, simply by saying so. The moment I declare I am a woman, the rest of society, including all official bodies, is obliged to believe me and act accordingly.
Yep, that's
Not to
bodily
do so
autonomy.
counts as misgendering and is a hate crime worthy of condemnation and even criminal prosecution.
Good.
Furthermore, conventional, cis men and women must not only change their view of trans people, they must change their view of themselves.
True. I'm not like this, like assimilationist tran. I want the entire system to change around the concept of gender. Now, we'll have another segment about this another time. I'm not a gender abolitionist. Neither is Zena. We're for gender liberation. The idea being, and the big difference being is that I don't like the origins of abolitionism, and I think that gender is pretty great. The idea of getting rid of it entirely is really, really stupid. And then when people backstep into the notion of we want to get rid of, just the roles and stuff like that, it's a weird thing to do because I don't really know how you do that. So the issue here is that, again, what this person's doing is this is a real slippery slope, talking about the idea that, people are just going to declare this is who they are, and then the rest of society has to go with it, and there's all these criminal prosecutions. That's the thing, is that's not the case. There are multiple places in the UK where you have to go through certain types of requirements to do things like change your name, that kind of stuff, as far as I'm aware. And even then, if someone just declares themselves a woman, the way that you know a good faith claim is being made about someone's gender is by consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If somebody is going to go through the tendency to dress as a woman, live as a woman, be called a name as a woman, that is their lived experience, then you can't just say they're doing this for some ill reason. They're living as a woman. You can even get into the medical route, which is like nobody is just going to take hormones for some ill purpose. I always find it funny when they try to frame us as predators, because anyone that knows this, any trans woman in the first 6 months of HRT, let me be clear, you're really not interested in sex. It doesn't work.
Your emotions might be all over the place too, right? Like,
yeah,
that might happen.
So yeah, this idea that this slippery sloping, I mean, is this the same kind of argument this person would have used against like brown people who are refugees? Like, it has that same energy of like, but what if they come and do crimes? It's the same kind of feeling of, well, what if some just man says he's a woman and then we all have to act as they do? Good. Yeah. No one is going to fake gender incongruence. Wonderful callback to that idea, Shiner, by the way, the idea of gender incongruity. But again, please watch that video. But yeah, this is insanity.
Well,
so
and where was the line? It was something like framing about people having to reevaluate their stuff, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, the idea that what cis people are going to have to change the way they think of themselves.
That's up to you. Like, I'm gonna be honest. It's like a really weird, like, absolute. Like, if you want to reconsider like your internal gender, that's up to you. Like, that's your own stuff.
So if you look at our comments right now, I'm not going to name this person by name, but if you look at our comments right now, there was an individual who posted on one of the preference videos recently, claiming that their entire sexuality was based out of the notion of they liked people biologically. That is, they liked only biological women. To which I retorted, bullshit, that is just turf talk. And what it came down to is I used the argument at the time, if you dated a girl who was going through transition early in her life, let's say she had started when she was a teenager, she had never gone through male puberty, she had never gone through any of those effects, and was on HRT and into her 20s, and then got any surgery she wanted. If you saw this woman and you were attracted to women, you would be attracted to this woman unless she wasn't your type. The idea this person presented was the notion that if they knew this person was trans, they wouldn't be interested, because somehow in their brain, the notion that the biology has some function here. I'm going to be really clear here. That's bullshit. This is the same thing. There's this fear that we're going to make cis people think differently about themselves. We are. That's the goal.
Well, I just don't find it to be a problem. Anything you run into in life could trigger, hey, maybe I should reconsider this. Like, that on its own isn't a good argument for anything.
No, and so the problem is I bring that up because it's this same kind of dodges we see from cis sexist individuals where we want to start kind of questioning that stuff, not for the purposes of compelling anyone to do anything, but to think differently about themselves. What makes, and we talked about this in different discussions, what makes a situation lesbian or gay? Well, the prescriptive notion is it involve, a lesbian situation would revolve around two women, and they would, that's what would happen. The descriptive notion is if you have, say, a trans woman, whether she's early transition or not, and you have, say, a non-binary AFAB person, if they call that interaction lesbian, then it is. Because from a descriptive perspective, their interaction, the energy of that situation, is lesbian. This is why I don't like the prescriptive notion of sexual orientation, because it's literally the place where essentially TERFs can hide. What this person is doing a prescriptive idea of gender, and that is that you must be this way. I'm gonna do something in the future. I'm gonna read the future. They're never going to mention non-binary people. Let's go.
Women, in particular, are being told that childbirth and menstruation, the most quintessentially, definitively female experiences, are no longer reserved for women.
True.
In fact, it is offensive to say so.
Yep.
They are also expected to welcome anyone who says they are female into female-only environments.
Yeah.
These demands are not being made by all transgender people. Many of us, I would guess the majority, are appalled by the aggression and unreasonableness of people who claim to speak in our name.
Oh, we can do
and
much
we are
more.
horrified by the totally counterproductive, but entirely predictable outcomes of their stridency.
Oh no, we're gonna make
Suddenly,
the cis man.
extreme feminist academics and writers, who are as tolerant towards trans people as the Labour Party is towards Jews, are being hailed as valiant defenders of free speech and common sense.
Did you just compare extremist feminists?
So,
are tolerant towards trans people as... I don't know much about UK politics, but what is the Labour Party? Yeah, no, she mentioned the Jews because she's a racist. Chat, please understand. Astra, can someone please who knows about the UK tell me what the Labour Party is? Because I don't know shit about them. Does the Labour Party dislike Jews? Are they anti-Semitic? Well, we know that part, Schneider, man. They always are.
I mean, that is true, yeah.
I mean, they think that we're a big Jewish conspiracy. We're part of the whole JQ spreading transgenderism across the lands. It used to be the Socialist Party. So they're saying they're tolerant towards Oh, it's Tory Light. Okay. So it's like, and it was accused of anti-Semitism? Fair. Okay.
I do gotta be real here. Childbirth is a choice. It is not some quintessential part of my being. I just saying, you're never gonna sell me that, like, I need to have kids. I've never...
quintessentially female experience. Please go fuck yourself. A quintessential female experience. I've had tons of those. I'm a trans woman. They happen. Like, what are we talking about? Like, oh god, I'm really waiting for science to get good enough to actually implant wombs in trans women, because we already are almost there. I can't wait for the first trans woman to be able to give birth, because I swear to God, it's going to break all of their heads.
Right? Well, then this whole, like, childbirth being quintessential, like, female, like, can we finally get to the point where, like, all parents are just parents, and, like, this whole process is important to everyone, regardless of what the gender of the parent is? Like, is that a thing?
But other animals give birth, and they don't have gender in this way, or they do gender entirely differently. One of my favorite things, hyenas, are matriarchal by nature, and the females have pseudopenises that they will use to dominate the males, who are smaller and less endowed. What are we doing here? Also, let's be super clear. Like, humans poop. Is that like a quintessential human experience to poop? I'm just wondering, like, what are we doing here? Yes, Cinehall. Now we, you know what? We're back together again. Team Hyena for the win. Let's keep going.
Normal women who are, in my experience, overwhelmingly sympathetic towards the experience of trans people on a human, real-life basis, suddenly, and entirely reasonably feel threatened by a phenomenon that seems to be posing yet another threat to their hard-won rights. Meanwhile, the actual needs of real-life trans men, women, and children are entirely ignored and misunderstood. For example, I do not claim to be female now. But I am engaged on a process of transition that will lead me to a point where that claim can, legally, reasonably be made.
Oh my god, how do you... I don't use this term on this channel very often, but like this is the most cucked perspective possible. Truscum are by their nature, and we're going to talk about this later when we talk about internalized transphobia, but like Truscum are so incredibly cucked. Like, holy crap, like, maybe someday I'll get to be a woman. Bitch, what the fuck are we doing right now? If this woman was, like, accurate in some way, there are women in our Discord who I love and are women who are early into transition. And, like, what am I supposed to think about them? Am I supposed to, like, go, oh, well, they're not quite there yet? Now, arguably, I can say that about their transition. They're in process. And we can talk about what internal transphobia does to that later. But this is literally saying, I need society to make the decision for me. We were talking earlier when we talked about the Canada situation about state power. This is fucked. That you think you need legitimate state power to normalize, to normalize and justify your existence.
There's a...
Who wrote this? Rose of Dawn? Jesus Christ. I am stealing that joke from Luxander's stream earlier, by the way.
There's a couple different people we've seen, big streamers, that are very much on the I need the state to justify my existence track. And I'm like, about that one.
I don't care if I mispronounce this, fight me. Coco McGlinchey. Totally ridiculous. This symbol represents feminine, which is who your products are for. Oh, this is to always. Removing the symbol isn't the answer, but women are being erased. Well, erasing our symbol from a feminine hygiene product says otherwise. You know who also uses pads? Trans women who have had bottom surgery. I'm not joking.
Also trans men who still menstruate. Or non-binary people.
Yeah, like, no offense to get TMI, but like, uses pads. Astra uses pads. Fucking Chronic uses pads. Like, what are we doing here? Let's go.
To get there, I will soon have to start living in role, presenting, acting, and living as a woman on a 24/7 basis.
Oh no.
That means changing my name, physical appearance, and clothes and, yes, using female changing rooms and WCS. Unless I do that for a year, I cannot hope to have gender confirmation surgery, a sex change, in other, old-fashioned words. So, I cannot get rid of the penis that is such a constant thread in all anguished articles about the thread posed to women by trans people unless I go into all the places that the anti-trans campaigners want to prohibit me entering.
So her argument is...
Why did we flip around at
No.
this point?
So her argument is the trans bathroom bills and shit like that are harmful because she has to be able to live as a woman so she can get rid of the threatening penis. Can I be clear here? I have worked with tons of clients who have been assaulted. Let me be really clear. I'm not going to go into details. People can be assaulted with anything. Anything. This is where the idea, like, yes, a penis makes it easier. But this idea that, like, people can't be assaulted, like, this is where the whole idea that men can't be assaulted happen. It's insanity. So, I want you guys to understand this. So, I can't enter these places because the TERFs won't let me. And rather than fighting against the TERFs and calling them what they are, a hate campaign, instead, we have to suck up to them and hope they'll let us have enough rights so that we can go through our proper transgender transition so I too can be a proper woman. Someday they'll let me.
I wear all the right clothes.
Oh God, I want to roadblock myself. So like,
are we in like a Mean Girls movie? Like, is that what's happening right now?
So I cannot get rid of the penis that is such a constant threat. Now, either this could be said, this could be said. Constant thread. Okay, I keep reading that as threat, and I'm going to keep reading it as threat because that's what it's referring to. About the threat posed by women. Yeah. The idea here is you're trying to argue against TERFs by buying into TERF logic. Suffer not a TERF. Ever. We need a new Malus Maleficarum For those who know what that is, I'm moving on. Just saying.
Mind you, I'm lucky to be doing this at all. The NHS estimates that 1% of the population has some degree of gender incongruity, which is to say a mismatch between natal sex and perceived gender. But I doubt it spends 1/millionth of its budget on our health needs. Most trans people aren't getting the counseling, medication and surgery they need.
Agreed.
And we are still at much greater risk of abuse, harassment, discrimination, and violent assault than our cisgendered peers. We are your parents, siblings, children, friends, workmates, fellow citizens. We are sane, sensible, and no reputable medical body, from the World Health Organization on down, still thinks that our condition is evidence of mental disorder.
So all of this is true, or at least appears true, so that's not an issue. But like, again, the argument here is you want to suck up to them so you can be this. Like, Truscum are really ridiculous. Like, this is why we make fun of Rose of Dawn. This is why we make fun of Blair White. Because of the thing here is that, and Calvin Guerra, let me not forget Calvin Guerra, or the offensive Tiesler, which is a separate person. Someone in another thing thought I was referring to Blair as the offensive Tiesler.
No, that's literally a name.
That's a name. I'm not going to say the full name because it's literally the Tiesler. There is a whole YouTube channel called The Offensive Tiesler. You should go find it and report it. Because it is literally using a slur in the name. This to me reads as this bizarre appeal to their better humanity. But the problem with like hate groups is they don't have that. Again, Malus Maleficarum, just saying.
More to the point, we cannot obtain a single hormone patch, or undertake any gender-related surgery without written clearance from specialist psychiatric and medical professionals. So we really aren't making this up. And many of us are as concerned as you are about the police allowing rapists to define themselves as women, or people who have just given birth to a baby claiming to be the father, or sports people who have grown up as men, with all the inbuilt advantages of male size and strength, taking medals away from female competitors.
I want to give up the ghost on every single one of these arguments. I just want to give it up so that we can acknowledge that so if we want to acknowledge this, let's be super clear. I'm totally fine with trans athletes. There is no evidence I have seen that shows a demonstrable and irrefutable evidence that there's a difference. And I'm going to be honest, my personal experience, guess what? I used to be pretty fucking strong for a guy. I used to weightlift. You'll notice I don't look that big anymore. Why? Because I shrank from fucking HRT. Ask Zena. I used to be about 210. I'm 180 right now. HRT literally consumed my muscles like it needed fucking protein.
Is this true?
The fuck are we on about? Like,
this stuff's a whole mess of things.
The
yes,
males.
There are trans men who can give birth and have. It happens. Oh,
again, guys,
I am not about to take away anyone's fatherhood, parenthood, whatever. Wow, let's not do that.
I'm willing to follow you as far as the gender, the gender, social construction of gender, as far as the idea that I can be a woman, but to call that dude a father who gave birth to that kid, that's a bridge too far.
This got so weird.
All right, let's.
But still we want to be able to assert our own identities.
Not according to you.
I'm actually reaching the point where I wonder whether those of us who are transitioning properly should carry cards, stating so, just to protect us and reassure others. After all, if drivers, pensioners, students and disabled citizens have cards that establish their bona fides, why couldn't trans people voluntarily do the same? In the meantime, can I just make this request? If we moderate trans people are reasonable in asserting our rights, can society be equally reasonable in granting them? And also, please can we leave?
So, you already did leave, and it was a damn good...
Wait. There's a hyperlink at the pod, but I want to know where it goes.
Brexit negotiations. I'm not clicking on it.
Okay, nope, that makes more sense. Okay.
By the way, this isn't Telegraph.
Wait a minute. We just read this whole thing, and the only addressing of this whole ID card thing that you've got is the last 2 paragraphs, and the second one's not even a paragraph. Like, why did we read this when you didn't make an argument for your point?
Trans exit, or I'm calling it transit.
Oh my god, why? This is such bad writing. If you want to write an argumentative paper or article, whatever, maybe argue your point. You didn't do it.
So people ask occasionally why we're so open and non-gatekeepy. And the reason is very, very simple. Because of these fucking people. These people never stop for a minute to consider the fact of what happens if they're wrong. I'm serious. What happens if they're wrong? Now, the thing I want to point out here is this ID card thing, real quick, I gotta look something up. Hold on. Okay, trigger warning for history. Pink triangle. In Nazi Germany in the 1930s and 40s, it began as one of the Nazi concentration camp badges, distinguishing imprisoners as had been identified by authorities as gay men, which some of these were trans women. We know this. It was revived as a symbol of protest of homophobia. This is literally the card that this lady wants us to have.
Also, there's another counterpart to the pink one, black triangle as well.
That's for the inverted black triangle, and I used it in Nazi concentration mark. Workshire asocial. Huh. Wow.
They basically put on all kinds of women, to my understanding.
Or like asocial, like I gotta be like, wait, like...
Yeah, like that's one that they put on a lot of women.
Oh, the Roma. Okay, yeah. So here's the thing. What I take from this is that the idea that we should have cards identifying us, I want to be really clear. This came from a trans woman. People get on us because I call fucking conservatives fascists. This person wanted to vote for Brexit, and probably did. Brexit happened. Brexit was terrible. So let's be super clear. This conservative, who happens to be trans, and that's how I'm going to refer to her, even if she won't refer to herself properly, the fact of the matter is, she wants us to wear these so that people will see that we're the good ones. This is some of the most pick-me shit in the world. And what this comes down to is it's a way to hold that up and see, look, I've identified myself, so you know I'm not going to hurt you in your space. I'm clearly not using this in a bad way.
Oh, look, no discrimination can happen because I have this ID card now.
So wait, let's look in the future. Hold on. I'm gonna use the psychic powers. When Twitch put out the transgender tag, raids and hate groups against trans creators increased by several 100% because they could now find them. What do you think this ID card will do? These are the trans people who I have to be very careful with because I want to be really clear. She is a trans woman. She is part of our community, unfortunately. But I have to think back to that one meme I have floating around. It's the one where it's got Caitlyn Jenner sitting there as baby syndrome. It's got Mr. Incredible saying the trans community, and it's got him yelling, you know, you're not affiliated with me. That's how it feels. ID cards are not going to solve anything. They're just going to make us better targets. What do you want, patches? People will notice those better. Do you like patches? Should they be on clothing, like right about here-ish? Or here-ish? I don't remember which side it was. Our point with this really is simple. This stuff should be always looked at with suspicion. Always. you have anything else?
I mean,
Other than just rage and
rage, learn to write. I mean, like,
oh no, the grammatical errors.
well,
Like,
not even just
man.
again. You went like in circles, laying out the premise in the situation, and then you spent. It's like somebody like had to write a paper the night before it was due, except they, okay, and you know, maybe like several weeks ago they got their whole introduction done, but they didn't do the rest of it, and that last paragraph, that's all they got that last night.
Hold on.
That's what it was, okay? Brink the... This is good. Oh no, this is good.
Oh god, I can't find that specific thing. So, I don't know if
Oh
everybody...
no, it might just be the first one. I mean... Oh, there's like...
It's 18 minutes.
Oh, all the plant scenes. Oh no. Like timestamps?
No.
I think it's when he's trying
Hold on, let me hit... I
trying
gotta
to-
show them that this is the point.
Okay, so they're trying to rescue Ivy. Sorry for spoilers, but this is good. Alright. That's it.
Yeah,
it.
that's exactly
Yeah.
the one. All right, if you haven't seen Harley Quinn, I'm sorry, but it's bad. It's bad that you haven't.
Yeah.
Here's to kick this. Let me turn on the sound. I think Frank the Plant says it perfectly.
At a time, that's not how that shit works. No, Ivy's kidnapped. Where the hell you learn how to give a speech? You put your thesis statement at the motherfucking top.
Sorry.
Did someone
You put your thesis statement in the motherfucking top. Oh, God. So with that said, we love you guys. We'll see you in the next one. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Also, consider donating to us. You can support us on our website, transgirltherapist.org. You can also help us on our Patreon, link below, or you can become a member here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching.